Time for a Bears Now mailbag. We start with good, better, best. Never let it rest. Should DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monangai be the starting running back? Well, I did cook up some numbers for these two running backs, so we'll take a look at that here. I think people are forgetting that Swift had been on a really nice run here before missing last week. He's obviously a veteran. Ben Johnson obviously trusts him. Don't get me wrong. I am fired up for Kyle Monangai and what we saw in Cincinnati. I think he's the type of back that can wear down a defense as a game goes on. I thought this was a cool chart this week that kind of outlines how running backs do outside the tackles versus inside the tackles. You see Swift in the top left up there, which means he's really good against outside the tackles, not great in between the tackles. So basically what we know about him. Monangai top right, certainly better between the tackles, but still effective outside the tackles as well. I think the more important thing here to mention is that it feels like, and it took a couple months, I think the Bears have found their thunder and lightning. Kyle Monangai is a guy who's going to stick his nose in there, get the tough yards, but also has enough burst to generate explosives, kind of like David Montgomery, where, the bulk of his carries aren't going to be just these home runs, but he can fit a few in there and certainly some singles and doubles. DeAndre Swift, yeah, he'll have some dud carries, but then he'll pop a 12-yard run. He can hit the home run, especially outside the tackles. You create a lane outside Darnell Wright or Theo Benedict, and he hits it downhill, he can really go. So I like what I'm seeing out of this pairing. I don't know how much it matters who the starter is. I think you ride the hot hand. I think both guys get opportunities. And here's what's really important. If the Bears are in the mix in December and into January, even if we don't view this team as like a Super Bowl contender right now, you know what translates to cold weather? Running the football in a potent offensive line. The Bears have that right now. So that's pretty exciting to think about. Who should be RB1 in your eyes? Again, I don't think it really matters. I think you found a split backfield situation here. Type DS for DeAndre Swift, KM for Kyle Monangai. I'll tell you what, Monangai, what a performance in Cincinnati. All right, Cornelius Pryor with the super chat. Is Darnell Wright a future all-pro right tackle? He might be, and he might be this year. I think there's a small chance he could get a look. Probably not first team with Penei Sewell in the conference, but after him, he's playing as well as anybody in the NFC at right tackle. He's cleaned up the penalties, and that's really the only thing that was holding him back earlier in the year. He had 6 penalties the first 3 games, missed that Raiders game with the elbow issue. He's playing through an elbow injury, and he's just balling. I mean, he's just killing people in the run game. He drove Shamar Turner on just an inside trap run like 8 yards. By the time he got Shamar Turner to the ground, he was like outside of where the left tackle was. Shamar Stewart. You guys know what I meant, which is kind of ironic because there was like a debate, should the Bears consider Shamar Stewart? And I was like, do not draft this guy. He's not that good of a football player. Darnell Wright took his lunch money. I mean, he is just dominating in the run game. He's been very good in pass pro. He'll have like 1 rep a game in pass pro where he gets beat, but he's playing really well right now. He plays like this the rest of the season. He's going to get a big contract extension. All right, Crisis King, Colson Montgomery, Sox, Caleb Williams, Connor Bedard, Josh Giddey have been playing great recently. Thoughts on Chicago sports so far? Well, before the Cubs made the playoffs this year, none of the big 4 sports teams had made the playoffs in a while, because the Bulls had been in the play-in a bunch, but they hadn't been in the actual playoffs since that DeMar team a few years ago. So I like what I'm seeing from Chicago sports. The Cubs had a nice year. Obviously, the Bears have been exciting this year. The Hawks are playing well. It's kind of starting to turn. The Bulls, I don't know how good the Bulls are, but they're fun, if nothing else. They haven't been fun in years. So, yeah, I mean, Bears and Chicago sports fans, I mean, you guys deserve it. It's been a rough go for a lot of years. If you are a diehard Bears fan, hit that subscribe button. We got you covered here on the channel. Free and daily updates, the latest injury news, weekly game previews. We go live every single Monday, Thursday, and game day, which will be live this Sunday, 10:45 Central Time before kickoff. Give us a chance. We have a lot of fun here. All right, we got John McEwen with the $5 super. What do you think of Kadyn Proctor, a left tackle for the Bears? He started out slow this year. He's picked it up. For how big he is athletic. I'd be curious to see what Ben thinks of him and Dan Rochar think of him, because he's got freaky tools for being that big and being able to move that well. I do think his technique breaks down So we'll see. I'll be curious to see what his kind of draft range is here as well. He could be one of those guys that dominates the combine, and you're like, oh, God, I got to take this guy in the top 10. So we'll see. He's an intriguing player. Luke, Bears need to go at least blank and blank over their last 9 games to make the offs. I think 5-4. 5-4 gets you to 10-7. I think that's what you at least have to do. I don't think 9 wins is getting you in the NFC this year. I think 10-7 gives you a shot. I think 11 locks you in. So if you go 5-4, you have a shot. You've got the Giants and Browns at home for 2 of your last 9 games. If you win those, you got to find 3 more. So I think if you can win those 2, you got a pretty good chance to get to 5 more wins. And if you get to 10-7, if you miss out, are you supposed to be upset? Like, I think we all would have signed up for a 10-win season this year. All right, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly on lineups when you play your first $5. You can follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app, including me at HGramNFL. You can copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. The way Prize Picks works is simple. You set lineups of 2 or more players, regardless of sport. Pick more or less on the stat projections available. Kept it very simple for my first lineup I've launched this week. I took more on both quarterbacks, 227.5 passing for Caleb Williams, 199.5 passing for Jackson Dart. I like the more on both. $20 lineup to win $55. Certain lineups you can win 2,000 times your entry. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. All right, we got Kyle here. Thoughts on if Hightower's seat is warming up? I mean, maybe a little. I also don't think they're going to do a mid-season special teams coach firing. It would have to be just unbelievably bad for them to do it mid-season, which, look, it has not been good. But I just, who are you going to hand the keys to? I think first-year head coach, that seems pretty bold to do an in-season change like that. His unit was good last year, so I'm hopeful this can get turned around. Hopefully, Eamon Ogbongbemiga can help that coverage unit on kickoffs a little bit, because that's been my biggest concern with the special teams. But, yeah, I mean, if it continues this rocky ride that it's been this year, I would say after the season, him getting fired is certainly on the table. Jacob Peters must win versus the Giants, Vikings, and Cleveland. Then we have to steal 2 against Philly, Pittsburgh, Green Bay twice, San Francisco, and Detroit. Got to be tough. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, Minnesota is a good point. I would say this. Beat the Browns and the Giants. You got to at least split Minnesota and Pittsburgh, because those are like 50-50 games to me. If you do that, that's 8 wins, and then you find 2 more. Can you split Green Bay? That's 1 more. I think at San Francisco is winnable. By then, who knows how beat up they are. Detroit at home, maybe they've clinched something by then, and you kind of catch them at the right time in Week 18. So we'll see. I agree, it's going to be tough, but I'm excited to see it. Like, I'm excited to see them have these big tests and these big challenges and these tough-ass games to try and win enough of them to be a playoff team. Like, imagine if they were like 3-6. Going into that stretch, you're like, well, we got no shot. Well, if you're 6-3, it's like, oh, we got a shot, and we're still gonna have to earn it. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see how this team stacks up as the year goes on against these tougher opponents. Which again is why this game here against the Giants. Drop your score predictions in the comments. Pretty big one. You need to get win number 6 here against an inferior opponent at home. I don't think there's any question about that. Drop those scores in the comments right now. Caleb Caldwell, why not just start Jake Moody? Cairo's are already missing from inside 50 yards. The only explanation I can give is, to me, once you do that, there's really no going back. With an older kicker like Cairo, so I think they just want to make sure, right? Like, the Moody mania, I get it. It's 2 games, and he struggled for a year and a half before that in San Francisco. So I think what they don't want to do is make that change and Moody not be the answer. So I hear you. I'm not even necessarily disagreeing, but I will play devil's advocate. This is a guy with a pretty good track record here for 5 years, but my patience is wearing thin on the situation. Like, you have another dud where you miss inside 50 on a normal operation. It's kind of like, I mean, what are we doing at that point? If he's missing 44 yarders, like, that's I can watch Jake Moody miss 44 yarders. At least he can try longer kicks. DJ, between the 6 teams Asante is visiting, who do you think is the most attractive from his standpoint? I do think the Packers are pretty attractive, as much as that pains me to say. Their cornerback room is not impressive. I mean, if they promise him a starting job, they're a contender starting job. Pretty appealing. San Francisco's had a lot of injuries, but most of those have been in the trenches, so I'm not sure what they would offer. Pittsburgh, maybe. I mean, they could bench Eccles, I guess, for him. I do think the Bears are fairly attractive, though. It's like, hey, especially if they win Sunday. Remember, he visits next week. Hey, we're 6-3. We're a team on the rise. Our number 2 outside corner right now has been up and down. We'll give you an opportunity to compete there. I don't think that you could promise him a starting job, given he hasn't played in over a year over Deshaun Wright, but I think it's one of those like, hey, you know, he struggles. You be ready to go type thing. So I think the Bears could make a solid pitch. I do think, as much as it pains me to say, the Packers probably have the most to offer, just given past the playing time on a winning team. All right, there you go. That's going to do it for this mailbag episode. Be sure to hit me up on social media at HGramNFL on Instagram and on Twitter. DMs are wide open. We can always talk Bears football over there. As always, bear down.